Hey guys, hello and welcome to Naveed for Speed. Today I'm going to be driving a Mustang. Not just any old Mustang though, and not the Mustang that you might think. It is the Mustang Mach-E. It's the SUV four-wheel drive electric vehicle from Ford.
Except it isn't just four-wheel drive. The Mustang Mach-E GT comes with all-wheel drive. Belting out 480 horsepower and over 600 pound-feet of torque. This GT version can achieve 0 to 60 miles an hour in a staggering 3.5 seconds. It goes toe-to-toe with the Mustang Mach-1 for horsepower and has over 200 pound-feet of torque more.
Now I don't know what Ford were doing when they named this car the Mustang, or well, rather I can speculate they wanted to make some money, but this is the Mustang, and if we take a look around it, we can see that it's got some of the pony badges, but it doesn't actually say Ford anywhere. They've properly marketed this car as the Mustang. I mean, here we have it in this beautiful blue color. This is the Mustang Mach-E GT, so you got some extra little vents and some changes to the bodywork. It looks pretty cool. As we move towards the side of the car, and if we look at the side profile, which I always like to do with vehicles, there's a couple of things that you'll notice. Firstly, it looks like a coupe, but it's not actually a coupe. It has this sort of black roof and contrasting bodywork, so it actually looks like a coupe, but there's this extra bit of roof here, so it gives you more headroom at the back, and it sort of blends the two worlds together. Styling looks great because it does look like a coupe, but also inside you get headroom. Also, you've noticed, like the McLaren 720S, it doesn't actually have any door handles. That's what makes this car look quite clean, and the reason why it doesn't have any door handles is because you get this button here. So if you just press the button like that, it doesn't always work first time, but if you press the button, the door slightly opens and you can pull this sort of makeshift handle here. It doesn't feel a bit cheap to do that. I mean, it does spoil the way that the car looks, but it's probably better than having to put your hand in the door and potentially getting it stuck. But that being said, in the back door, guess what you have to do? You have to put your hand in the door and potentially get your hand trapped. Aside from that, I mean, it does look pretty cool. The car has these 22-inch alloy wheels with this sort of contrasting machine-faced cast aluminium wheels and the black gloss on them. That, I think, is a very cool design for an alloy wheel. And you've got Mach-E badging. You know, let's move towards the back, where again it still doesn't say Ford on there, but it does say GT. So this is the Mach-E GT and all-wheel drive, and of course you get the Mustang-esque rear tail lights, rear lamp cluster, just to, I don't know, maybe just to convince people a bit more that this is a Mustang. But of course I feel like it's probably just to make some money. Let's take a look at the boot, if we can get it open. There we go. That was a bit difficult to find. I mean, plenty of room in the boot. It seems pretty good. You can lift this, the floor, and you can lower it, so you get a much larger boot. But of course you've got this load lip, so what you can do is lift that up there and you get a bit less of a load lift, and you've got tie points and everything. You've got lights, you can drop the rear seats down, and of course you have this this cover, which is supposed to be easier to take off, but I think it's a bit of a faff, especially when it comes to putting it back up, because you have to sort of do each corner and then you have to sort of lift it up. Actually, that wasn't too bad. Not too bad. Anyway, let's shut the boot, which is automatic. I don't know why I tried to pull it. And let's go drive this car, because I've not driven this Mustang before, and I'm quite intrigued to see what this is like. I'm quite intrigued to see why they've used the Mustang name. And I'm quite intrigued to see this car, which has the same horsepower as the Mustang Mach-1, what it's like to drive. So follow me. Right inside the Mustang Mach-E, it is pretty cool. There's loads of leather, tons of leather everywhere in the center console, on the seats, on the door, on the dashboard. Tons of leather everywhere on the steering wheel. Great driving position, it seems, but the central infotainment system is this big iPad style screen, which I can see where Ford were coming from when it came to Teslas. They do the same thing, but I personally don't like this big touch screen pad where everything is there. You can only really change the drive mode in the center console. Everything else is done through this touchpad, and there's some buttons on the steering wheel as well. You've also got this really strange volume, scroll button thing at the bottom, which I don't think that was needed. But personally, I think what Tesla are currently doing with their newer cars, that's what I would prefer, where it's more horizontal, not vertical, because it's sort of, I don't know, it just feels like it impedes some view, even though it doesn't. It's just there. And another thing, I would have liked it to face the driver a little bit more, but I suppose passengers can make use of it as well. Aside from that, you get wireless charging, you get heated seats, heated steering wheel, you get all sorts of features in this car. Creature comforts, it's pretty cool. What I do find interesting though is when you turn the car off, the car seems to remind you to check for occupants in the rear seat. I'm sure I would remember if I left somebody in the rear seat. And another interesting feature of this car is if you leave the car started and you come out of the car, it reminds you, it literally calls you by horning at you. So you know to go back and turn the car off. Right. Let's go in the Mustang. Some ominous music when you start the car, but it's pointing to drive using this swivel selector. I don't like those swivel selectors because until you get used to it, you have to look down to see what drive mode you're putting the car in. Although I can't imagine you'd be moving whilst you do that, so that's not a problem. But yeah, let's go. We are here today courtesy of the SMMT. We are at the Weatherby racecourses, which is perfect because we're in a pony car. We're in the home of the horse, essentially. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm quite sad when it comes to stuff like that. No, that's really cool. But let's take this car out to drive on the public road and see exactly what it's like. So far, so good. Although right now it doesn't actually feel like an electric car because I can hear, I think that's actually the AC, but the acceleration does catch you slightly off guard. So this car, let's get the facts and figures out of the way first. This car is the Mustang Mach-E GT, so this is the new GT car. It comes with 480 horsepower and over 600 pound-feet of torque. So it pretty much matches the Mustang Mach-1 in horsepower. And this car starts at around 74,500 pounds, but this particular one that I'm driving comes with this blue colour. It's an optional extra, so that's another 1,100 pounds. So this car total is around 75,500 pounds, and it feels every bit a 75,500 pounds car. But I think that's when you look at it with rose-tinted glasses, with it being a Mustang. Aside from, let's look at this car face value, right? Like we did with the Supra. Nostalgia, invokes certain emotions in people. Some people will like it, some people won't like it. This will definitely divide opinions, particularly amongst the hardcore Ford Mustang enthusiasts. But this particular car, if we take it face value, I think at the price that it is, initially you would think it's not worth the money. But when you compare it to cars like the Tesla Model Y, I personally think, comparable performance-wise, I personally think this car is decent value for money. Of course, if I had that kind of money, whether I would spend it on this car, I don't know. But right now, the car is putting up a very good argument for itself. It is pretty interesting. Comfort wise, I can feel every bump in the road. It is not as comfortable as I would have liked it to have been. The seats give you okay lumbar support, and other than that, I am getting some noise, which I have determined actually I think is the tyres on the tarmac. But acceleration wise, it really doesn't feel like a crossover or a 4x4, you know, a high ride height car. It does feel like a Mustang, and I suppose that's why Ford have created this car, to be slightly lower down, give it a coupe shape, give it that sporty appeal, make it a little bit aggressive. And I think this is a very desirable car for that matter. Whether you need a car like this, that's up to you to decide, but the car is, I can't fault it. I think when it comes to fully electric cars, Ford are a little bit behind. Oh, there's an actual Mustang. I bet he's not going to be liking seeing this go past. When it comes to electric cars, Ford are slightly late to the game. They've seen how others have done it, and this is their first attempt at it. And I think as a first attempt, they've knocked it out of the park, I personally think. The refinement is there, aside from some road tyre noise on the road. The refinement is there. It doesn't feel cheap. It does feel, it's meant to be premium. That's why it's the Mustang brand. Like I said, there's no Ford logos anywhere. It's just pony everywhere. This car supposedly does also have illuminated pony badges. I've not seen those yet, but it just adds to the whole theatre of the car. And when it comes to theatre, this car does offer theatre when it wants to. When it's at comfortable cruising speed like it is now, it's your best friend. But when you want to extract performance out of the car, it can give you that as soon as you need. And all you have to do is brace beforehand and put your foot on the accelerator, as I will demonstrate right now. You get a whir from the electric motor, and you get some more wind noise. But aside from that, you don't really get much else. It does seem like it is geared a little bit more towards the sporty side, almost like in a petrol car where it would hold its revs so that you've got the torque that you need to accelerate. Of course, this car does have over 600 pound-feet of torque, so it can take off pretty quickly, and it's always ready to send you. I'm actually quite surprised with the package that this car offers. I thought with it being a Mustang, it might be a bit of a disappointment, but I wouldn't say that it is. I think it's composed. It's actually pretty well balanced for normal driving. Of course, I would like to drive this car a bit more dynamically. I'd love to see what it's like on a track. Although this is not a track car, I'd love to see what it's like on a track, because I feel like it would be able to hold its own, particularly up against other Mustangs. I think, is this car a Mustang? Probably not. But if you take away that side of things, I think in its own right, this is a very good car.
Say what you will about the Ford Mustang Mach-E, but this GT version seems like a very good improvement upon the already very good first attempt by Ford. If you were to take away the pony badges, would it feel quite as premium? I'm not sure. Do I want to see a similar concept trickle down to the other Ford vehicles like the Puma? Yes, I do.